Good evening. So Sadiq Khan's waded into what he calls Labour's kicking in the local elections by saying the Prime Minister now needs to deliver. To remind you, Labour lost more than 450 seats around the capital last Friday. London's mayor also told our political correspondent Simon Harris that there needs to be less talk, more action, as Sir Keir Starmer tries to stop a leadership challenge. But the London MP, who's been piling the pressure on Sir Keir, says the plea in his speech earlier today was too little, too late.
The election results last week were tough.
So said the man whose party lost control of 12 London boroughs. The Prime Minister chose a casual look as he attempted to steer his Labour ship back on course with a speech at a community centre in Waterloo.
I take responsibility for navigating us through a world that is more dangerous than at any time in my life. And I take responsibility for not walking away, not plunging our country into chaos as the Tories did time and again, chaos that did lasting damage to this country.
But Sir Keir Starmer is in troubled waters. At the weekend, North London Labour MP Catherine West attempted to trigger a leadership contest.
On Monday morning, I have told the party chair that I'm very keen to put my name forward and seek nominations from other members of Parliament.
This morning, she seemed more determined than ever.
We have failed the voters and we have to fix it.
But shortly after Starmer's speech, West appeared to row back. Instead of putting herself forward as a possible candidate in a leadership contest, she's drawing up what amounts to a petition. She's collecting signatures from other Labour MPs calling on the Prime Minister to set a timetable for his departure. London's Labour mayor regards West as a close friend. He's not calling for Starmer to step down, but his verdict today on the Prime Minister wasn't flattering.
People don't want, bureaucrats running the government. They want change makers, and it's important we start bringing about change.
Are you saying Sir Keir Starmer is a bureaucrat?
I think some of the things we've done over the last 2 years have been incremental and slow. I know from my experience of the last 10 years, you've got to be bold.
Sir Sadiq also thinks Starmer was wrong to block Andy Burnham's recent attempt to become an MP. The Greater Manchester mayor is seen as a probable leadership rival.
I think whether you're a sports team, whether you're a business, whether you're a political party, you're your best people in and around you. And I think Andy Burnham's one of the best. I want to see Andy Burnham, because he wants to do so, return to Parliament sooner rather than later.
The audience for the Prime Minister's speech was carefully chosen. They listened politely. But Sir Keir knows it's the judgment of his MPs which matters most.
Well, Simon, we always knew that today was going to be tense for Labour, and that's exactly what's happened. So what's the situation this evening?
Well, all eyes are now on the numbers. How many MPs are signing up to Catherine West's petition? At the last count, it's more than 50. That's what will be making Downing Street nervous. And in the last hour, we've heard from Jas Athwell, who's the Labour MP for Ilford South. He's a former leader of Redbridge Council when his deputy was Wes Streeting, the MP for Ilford North, who's widely regarded as likely to be a front runner in any contest for the Labour leadership. Well, in a statement, Mr Athwell said this of Sir Keir Starmer's speech: "Today's speech failed to show he can regain that trust or lead us through the huge challenges we face at home and abroad. It is therefore with deep regret that I conclude it is in the national interest for Sir Keir Starmer to step down as Prime Minister and leader of the Labour Party." What we're looking at now is to see whether this builds a head of steam, and at what point might someone in the Cabinet decide that they're going to throw their hat in the ring and say enough is enough.
Well, a lot of this stems from the results in London. We didn't have a full picture when we were on air on Friday. So how clear is the picture across all the boroughs now the weekend is done?
We do now, and it's not pretty for Labour. They had 21 councils in London out of the 32 boroughs. Before the election, they now have just 9. Now, they lost 3 to the Greens, 1 to the Conservatives, that's Westminster. 8 others went to no overall control, but I can tell you that of those, one of them, Wandsworth, which is no overall control, the Conservatives are effectively back in control after doing a deal with an independent that puts them in charge.
OK, Simon, thanks very much for that.
Good evening. 11 years ago tomorrow, 2 new London MPs took their seats in the House of Commons together. One would become the Prime Minister, the other the Health Secretary. Today, one's fate depends on the other. Sir Keir Keir Starmer is vowing to carry on despite more than 90 MPs demanding his resignation. The first of 4 ministers to stand down today was Peckham MP Miatta Fahnbulleh, but it is the silence of the Ilford North MP Wes Streeting which has Downing Street nervous this evening. Will he come out and challenge the Prime Minister for his job? Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
1 week ago, the Prime Minister and the Peckham MP were all smiles at an election rally in Southwark. Today, Miatta Fahnbulleh resigned from the government, giving up her job as a junior minister and telling Sir Keir Starmer, "You, Prime Minister, have lost the trust and confidence of the public. Our country faces enormous challenges and people are crying out for the scale of change that this requires." All eyes were now on the Health Secretary and Ilford North MP Wes Streeting as he arrived for a cabinet meeting. A meeting where the Prime Minister again insisted he had no intention of quitting.
I'm astonished that given the number of MPs that have said they don't believe Keir Starmer should carry on as the Prime Minister, that he continues to be defiant. I understand he made his remarks at the beginning of the meeting and just moved on.
When it was over, Sir Keir reportedly ignored Streeting's request for a private chat and dispatched loyal ministers to address reporters outside.
The Labour Party has a process for triggering a leadership election. That has not happened, so we all intend to get on with our jobs, and that's what I'm going to do now.
Treasury Minister and Ealing MP James Murray was also on message.
He's got my full support and we're getting on with the job.
Wes Streeting, do you want to be Prime Minister?
But Wes Streeting, never normally shy when it comes to talking to the media, left without comment. What followed was a waiting game, with everyone wondering what would happen next. Would Streeting make a move, or would more ministers resign, forcing Starmer's hand? It wasn't long before another trickle of resignations, but there were plenty of Labour MPs still on side.
I've had many of my constituents contact me over the last 24 hours, pleading with me to tell Keir not to quit. And I'm with them. I think now would be an irresponsible time to be changing Prime Ministers.
Most MPs won't be back in Westminster until tomorrow for the King's speech and a state opening of Parliament overshadowed by political turmoil.
All right, let's hear more now from Simon, who's in Westminster. And Simon, the number of MPs coming out against Sir Keir Starmer have been ticking up all day. Where are they now?
Well, Lucrezia, at least 90 Labour MPs have now publicly called for Sir Keir Starmer to go. The number of ministers who've resigned has risen to 4. But there also appears to be what you might call a rival movement, a Starmer Must Stay campaign, which now has the support of 100 Labour MPs. The Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy came out a short time ago in Downing Street and made clear whose side he's on, saying Sir Keir Starmer has his full support and pointing out that no rival candidate had yet put themselves in the frame for a leadership challenge. Of course, it all begs the question whether any new Labour leader would be able to restore the party's fortunes.
We saw at the local elections last week just how unpopular Labour is. They're fighting on 2 fronts. They're facing reform, an enormous threat from reform in many parts of the country, and from the Greens on the other side. And trying to appease voters on both sides of the party to win them back, it would be a challenge for any leader.
Unless there's any significant development in the next few hours, we don't expect to see the Prime Minister until tomorrow's formal state opening of Parliament, when the King will lay out the government's legislative programme for the coming year. But of course, that's in itself a major story. Normally, however, tomorrow is likely to be another day of fevered speculation about succession.
All right, Simon, for the moment, thank you very much. Our political correspondent, Simon Harris, is here now. Simon, it's all very well the government outlining its plans, but who plans to be in charge? That's a big question.
That's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because ITV News understands that Wes Streeting, the Ilford North MP, is preparing to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for the leadership of the Labour Party, possibly as early as tomorrow. Now, Mr Streeting had a meeting with the Prime Minister in Downing Street earlier today. Remember, he was refused a chat with the Prime Minister yesterday. He was in Downing Street for all of 16 minutes before he headed to the Houses of Parliament for the state opening. And because of the King's speech, we don't expect anything to happen today. But it does look likely that Mr Streeting will possibly, tomorrow morning, resign his job as Health Secretary. And if he's got enough MPs, which we assume he would have, he will be able to trigger that leadership challenge that Sir Keir Starmer hoped he'd shut down yesterday.
All right, Simon, potentially some very interesting times ahead. Thank you. Well, when it comes to politics, this is the only topic in town, and of course it dominates the agenda on ITV News London's political show tonight, The Late Debate. Our political correspondent, Simon Harris, is in our studio in Westminster.
So Wes Streeting's finally taken the plunge, up to a point. For 24 hours, the MP for Ilford North appeared to be dithering. Keir Starmer's team was hoping he hadn't got the numbers, that there weren't enough Labour MPs ready to endorse his leadership challenge. But at lunchtime today, he resigned from the government, telling Starmer he no longer had confidence in him and the government was drifting. All of this, of course, comes after Labour's catastrophic defeat in the council elections a week ago. How could a party which once regarded London as a rock-solid Labour stronghold lose control of 12 boroughs? And why did London voters turn to the Greens and Reform UK? So plenty for my guests on The Late Debate to discuss.
So I think it's a bit of a mixed picture, but I think Labour in London needs to have a look at, you know, our offer and why people were looking elsewhere.
And frankly, this is a distraction from addressing the challenges that we face, the cost of living crisis, energy bills increasing and a crisis in the Middle East.
But of course he has absolutely no authority at all. And that authority has been damaged by the situation he's in.
We'll also talk about anti-Semitism. 2 weeks after 2 Jewish men were stabbed in Golders Green, the King's speech promised new laws to tackle the problem. But is it enough? That's The Late Debate here on ITV1 after news at 10.
People living near the site of a new data centre the size of Wembley Stadium say they're worried about losing a precious part of the countryside to the development. The big warehouses are packed with powerful technology we all rely on, from booking a holiday to checking your bank balance. Developers say the site at Potters Bar is essential to keep up with digital demand, but residents would rather see it built somewhere else. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Locals call it the lungs of London. It's where the urban sprawl meets rural England. But these fields on the northern edge of the capital, close to Potters Bar, are the front line of a new battle to save the green belt.
This is a rural idyll in Hertsmere that's going to be decimated by the largest data centre in Europe. The size of Wembley Stadium, with 4 giant sheds in a prime piece of green belt that is the lungs of Potters Bar and also North London.
This is the green belt. The green belt to me is sacrosanct. It protects us from London. It gives us an island of nature, fresh air, and it's a really, really beautiful place.
The giant warehouses full of computer servers are being built by one of the world's biggest data centre operators, Equinix.
I think it's really important to understand the role that data centres play in the underlying UK economy. Without data centres, we have no growth. Growth depends on data centres.
They often dwarf the surrounding area. This is one of the capital's biggest data centres at Dagenham in East London, handy for the financial firms in Canary Wharf. And this is another big one, the Slough data centre. Several hundred people work inside, but Equinix claims the site created a further 15,000 jobs in the local community. The demand for new data centres is being fuelled in part by the growth of artificial intelligence.
There's something like on the order of 140 proposals for new data centres in the UK right now. And if you add up all of the capacity that they would use, it's more than the current peak demand for electricity in the UK.
And that raises questions about whether power networks can cope, especially if government house building targets are to be met.
We're working with the government to make sure the grid can cope. What I don't want is a choice between energy for housing and energy for data centres. That's why I'm going to massively increase the capacity on the grid.
The Potters Bar or South Mims data centre will be built in an area often referred to as Britain's Hollywood, the home of film and TV. And the local council, which supports the project, says it's a good fit with an industry increasingly associated with virtual reality.
Those virtual screens require an immense amount of bandwidth and physical proximity matters. So there's a natural affinity between the screen arts sector and the need for data centres in this area.
In Potters Bar, the local council argues the green belt here is low quality and the data centre will deliver top quality landscaping. Local people don't buy that. Simon Harris, ITV News.